Next up, let's talk about parameterized instantiation, and this also makes an auto-generated factory, but it also allows us to provide parameters. So instead of injecting a func, you can inject, for example, a function of targ1, targ2, and t. So the idea here is that you have this factory function or factory method, and it takes two arguments of type targ1 and targ2, and it returns the type t. So for example, you can inject and store a func of string, int, and manager, and then after you store it in a field, you can call my field with the appropriate argument. So you can provide, the first argument is of type string, so you can provide John. The second argument is of type int, so you can provide 123, and that actually constructs the dependency. And once again, it constructs the dependency using the container, obviously behind the scenes, and it does so in a very kind of transparent way. So at no point in time do you invoke some sort of resolve function, for example. You're not doing that. You just have a function which is a .NET type, and you're calling on that. Now, the idea here is that the factory has typed parameters, and this is not great. In fact, having typed parameters as opposed to named parameters, for example, is a bit of a problem because you cannot have duplicates in the parameter list. So for example, if you had a manager which would need to be constructed from two strings, for example, you couldn't do it. And for this, you would have to use something else like a custom delegate if you want to resolve a function which does in fact have duplicate types. So if you have your manager class which takes two strings, maybe first name and last name, then you cannot simply write func string manager. That is not going to work, and the problem with this is to do with the fact that these parameters are typed parameters. Now, another alternative to doing this is to use something called a delegate factory, but this is something that we're going to see when we go into the advanced topics. Okay, so coming back to the example that we had as part of last lesson, I promised to start using SMS log in the reporting as well. So the SMS log component is a bit tricky because the problem is that it takes a constructor parameter. Now, so far, we've already seen how you can provide those constructor parameters both at registration time as well as resolution time, but now we're going to do it using our dynamic instantiation. So what's going to happen here, it will declare another func, but this time around it's going to be different because it's going to be a func which takes a string argument and returns an SMS log. So we'll call it SMS log like so. And of course we need to add it as a constructor parameter. So I'll add it in here as well. And now what we can do in the report function is we can call on this function. So we can say SMS log. But this time around, you'll notice it takes a string argument, and that string argument will be provided to the constructor. So here we have to specify the phone number, and I'm going to specify a dummy phone number here, and then I will say write, and here I can, for example, say that we're texting the administrators. So texting admins. There we go. Okay, so let's actually execute this. We don't need to do anything else here. We just have a default registration. Notice we're not doing anything special in register type, just registering it as normal. Let's execute and let's see what we get. Okay, so as you can see here, we're using the console logs to report to the console and again, and then we are sending the text message to the phone number that we've actually specified.